Today on Doom! Today on Doomed! The year is 2019. A secret network, entrenched deep inside U.S. agencies, continues to control our government. Embroiled in a never-ending battle with these nefarious forces, our hero, Donald J. Trump, pushes forward with his selfless work of taking down this deep state while dismantling a global child sex trafficking ring run by liberal Hollywood elite, while also fending off a coup of this great nation by Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the evil George Soros. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of QAnon in 2019. This is also the very first episode of Doomed of 2019. Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Matt Binder, and let me pull up our guest here on the feed today. You'll also be able to see him because this is being live streamed on YouTube as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis View is joining us today. Thanks for joining us. He is the co-host of QAnon Anonymous, the podcast. Or is it just QAnon Anonymous podcast, I should say, not the podcast?
Yeah, it'll go with QAnon Anonymous podcast, I think is how we usually say it. So
perfect.
Thanks for having me on, Matt.
This show is all about accuracies, which is why we're talking about this battle Donald Trump is currently having with the deep state.
Yeah, it is wretched. It's to this day it baffles me that they chose this man as someone who battled everything that is evil and terrible in the world, Donald Trump.
So if people who have listening to our listeners here on Doomed have been really hearing about this QAnon thing since really the podcast started about a year ago, actually. I think this is almost a year, if not a year to the day that this podcast first launched. And It's been a while, though, since I've delved deep into QAnon. So for those who might have forgotten, or for those who may be listening for the first time to either my podcast or your podcast, or someone who's basically been the luckiest person alive, not gone online, completely unaware of what QAnon is, really quickly, I guess, what's a summary of this whole QAnon thing?
So QAnon is a elaborate conspiracy theory that posits that there is a group of white hats, which is basically good guys in the government, who are doing battle against the deep state and a global cabal of pedophile Satan worshipers. And Donald Trump is helping lead this battle against all the evil people, and the evil people, of course, include Barack Obama, James Comey, and all the Democrats that hate, and also like George W. Bush, just basically everyone who is part of the political establishment. They're all evil. They all need to go. And
Donald Trump,
and then right,
part of the political establishment, right? Well, except for him, he's the one good one.
He's the one good person, and then the details about this global battle is being leaked through coded messages on 8chan through an entity called Q, and Q is presumed to be either someone in military intelligence close to Donald Trump, and they make these posts on 8chan called Q drops that make these sort of like really super cryptic messages and questions that, when decoded, are supposed to reveal the truth about what's really going on and what the mainstream Mockingbird media isn't telling you about.
Yeah. So Q is who exactly?
So Q is presumed to be either a person or a group of people close to President Trump in military or military intelligence. In QAnon, they sort of posit that the only uncorrupted institution in the United States government is the military. So they think it's someone in military intelligence.
Right. Of course, our military industrial complex
Yes, right.
is perfect. It's untouched.
It is pure and untouched, and is American and noble as it gets.
Listen, I'm starting to think these QAnon believers are onto something here. All the pieces just fit. All the pieces just fit. So since I've last really, on this show, I've had Will Summer, Kelly Weil, Jared Holt. I feel like I'm forgetting someone who's mentioned QAnon on this program. And I'm sorry, whoever I forgot. You can blame it on the deep state. Since I've really talked about this in depth, a lot has happened with this whole QAnon thing. And to me, one of the more interesting things, and I truthfully don't know where this fits into the big picture here, of taking down the deep state, taking down child trafficking rings, and fending off a coup d'etat. Where does JFK Jr. come into play? Because as far as I know, he did.
Yes. Yes. JFK, yes. First of all, I'll be very clear. JFK Jr. died in July of 1999 in a plane crash in the Atlantic Ocean. I want to start with that right off the bat. But what happened is that this is kind of a funny story because a lot of QAnon people believe that JFK Jr. is alive and assisting Donald Trump to take down the global cabal. And they started believing this because there was a Q drop that basically implied that Hillary Clinton actually helped kill JFK Jr. in that 1999 plane crash because he planned to run for Senate and she wanted that Senate seat. So, of course, evil Hillary offed him. This is the story that they say.
Right.
And so there was this other entity that called R, who basically implied that on 8chan, who played that he was JFK Jr. And so that got a lot of people believing that, JFK Jr. is alive and he's working behind the scenes, and Hillary Clinton tried to kill him but failed, and he's been hiding since 1999 this entire time, and then he's going to come back, and then it's going to blow everyone's minds. And the funny thing about this is
he doesn't need to come back for my mind to already be blown.
Right. The funniest thing about this theory is that it persists even though Q has basically denied it and repudiated it. There was a Q&A session actually pretty recently when some anons on 8chan asked him point blank, "Is JFK Jr. alive?" And then Q said no, N-O period. And then that is, a lot of people still rejected this because they believe that he was this is just disinformation. So of course if JFK Jr. was really alive, Q couldn't confirm it. And so this is one of the it's one of the craziest theories of the conspiracy theory that's already full of them. And it's even crazier because Q keeps trying to shrug off the sort of the extra loony people who believe just total nonsense, but they keep clinging to these super, super bonkers theories like JFK Jr. lives.
This is actually one of the more interesting turns, I guess, of this whole QAnon conspiracy to me. And, I wanted to get into it a bit later, but I think this is the perfect segue. It seems like Q is quickly and progressively, whoever this Q is, whether it's one individual or multiple individuals, seems like they're losing control of this whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. There is it's controlling QAnon believers is for Q. It's got to be like herding cats. The thing is that Q has sort of trained them how to sort of shrug off inconsistencies or sort of failed predictions and anything else that might cause someone to disbelieve in Q. Like a common thing that QAnon says is disinformation is necessary. So whenever Q gets something wrong, then they say, disinformation is necessary. This was just disinformation in order to throw off the cabal. So Q was lying to the evil cabal. Q wasn't lying to us. This is bad information, but it was bad information for a good reason. And then but the problem is that this whole attitude of disinformation is necessary has been turned against Q, and that QAnon believers will start rejecting things that Q says. Because they'll rationalize it away with saying, well, that's just disinformation. They'll just choose to believe whatever they want to believe. And you're right. Q is losing control, and there are, people in the QAnon community are splitting into like these factions. Like, for example, the JFK Jr. lives faction and the people who don't believe that JFK Jr. lives. It is an assault on reality. It's just absolutely absurd. Yeah.
So if Q is losing hold of this whole thing, how important are these communiques that he posts on 8chan still? Like, do they still hold any sort of? I will be honest with you, and as someone who only has been following this, just the general, the general way things have been going with it. Not really diving deep into everything that's been happening with the splits and the new tiny sub-conspiracies within. It seems like I've actually been seeing a lot less of the really parsing of his little drops like I used to early on. I feel like in the earlier days of QAnon, every time he posted something, there was just a string of theories that really took every single word, every letter of every word, and tried to break the code. And I don't really see that anymore.
Yeah. It's really changed in that the thing is that sort of Q has sort of become a little bit more, I guess, normie over time. And ever since Q sort of broke into the mainstream, Q started being a little bit more clear, a little bit more explicit, and started being a little bit more America focused, because in the early days Q was all about the sort of this big international things. Q talked about Saudi Arabia a lot. Q talked about North Korea a lot, and then in order to reach a broader audience, they sort of Q started making their messages a little bit more clear, a little bit simpler to understand, and then focusing their message more about like stuff that's happening in the U.S. So that's my theory. I mean, you're right where people aren't quite like decoding these drops anymore, because they aren't quite as cryptic. They're still really cryptic, but not like the early days, not like the good old vintage Q, of like of like November, December of 2017.
Right, that classic Q.
Yeah, classic Q. That's the best stuff.
So let's go to another I almost feel weird moving on from the JFK Jr. thing. Oh, actually, I don't want to move on from that yet, because there's something I remembered. Who is this guy that they think is JFK Jr. in disguise?
Yes. So this is Vincent Fusca. And this is a Trump superfan from Pennsylvania. And he's just a guy. He's just a guy who shows up at rallies sometimes, and he's a very enthusiastic Trump fan. He holds up Trump signs, and he was sort of spotted at these rallies, and the QAnon community sort of decided collectively that he was JFK Jr., which is it's just absolutely absurd. If you see this guy, or if you talk to him, sometimes they'll bring up photographs of Vincent Fusca and try to compare him to JFK Jr.
Handsome man?
It's
classic Kennedy looks?
It's not. It does not really look like him at all. It's very, very strange. But the thing is that sometimes people say that, actually, JFK Jr. is this bald Secret Service agent who is sometimes photographed next to the president. So he's like, that's how close JFK Jr. Is. He's sort of working in the White House, some people in the QAnon community say.
Do we know why QAnon, there's all sorts of right-wing conspiracies I've followed over the years, and I've never quite seen one that tries to turn the people who would be, in the case of JFK Jr., or the people who actually are, in the case of Robert Mueller, the people who would normally be their villains, they're trying to turn into secretly undercover without telling the rest of the world they're actually on our side. Never seen that before. It's blowing my mind.
It is. It's I think it comes from this stance that they believe that there's going to be some sort of spiritual patriotic renewal called the Great Awakening, where after all of the things that they're going to happen actually happens, everyone's going to shed off the sort of political divisions and strife and all of these things and legal troubles that we think that have been plaguing us for so long. And we'll all unite as sort of like one American people. And they sort of imagine that these sorts of partisan lines are going to be broken down once the evil cabal is taken down. So that's where I think it comes from.
It's weird because it sounds more like a hippy dippy like fringe left idea that we'd all unite, man, peace and harmony, come together. Really weird.
It is. But the thing is that they believe that we're going to enter a time of they believe that after what they call the storm, which is this mass arrest event where all of the enemies of America are like rounded up and sent to Gitmo or executed or whatever. After this big event happens, they will enter a time when suppressed cures that were hidden by the big pharma will be revealed, and then there'll be global prosperity, and then there won't be any more political strife. So it's very utopian. So they imagine this incredible period of wealth and health and togetherness, but in order to get to that, we need a brutal authoritarian takedown of all of Donald Trump's enemies. So once we crack down on all of Trump's enemies and execute them and send them to Gitmo, then that's when we're going to reach the promised land.
Right. I'm glad you threw that last part in, because before you got to that authoritarian half, I was going to ask you, do they know who Donald Trump is? Are they aware who their hero is? Talking about big pharma and the moneyed elite, and do they realize who their hero is?
Well, they still see him as an outsider, and technically he is. He is the first president to reach the office without ever serving in any other political office or the military. So he is as outsidery as it gets historically.
Right. True.
So they think that this means that since they really got someone outside of the system into the system, then he's just gonna tear down all the things that they hate about the system.
Right, and who better to also take down the global child trafficking sex rings than someone who allegedly took part in them? I mean,
yeah. There's that famous quote where he was praising Jeffrey Epstein and stuff. So I don't think they this funny thing is that they always explain these away. It's like, well, he was kind of buddies with Jeff Epstein. And they say he was only getting close to all these people in order to do surveillance and intel, to understand how this evil system works. And then he's going to take it down. They imagined that, Donald Trump was sort of always outside of the sort of the real sort of political elite, because he understood how evil it was. And so he's been plotting to take it down for decades, they assume.
Right. You can only take down a child sex ring if you have sex with one of the children. Then you understand what's necessary. It's all part of the job. It's stunning to see the wheels turn in their head as I would love to see, I should say, the wheels turn in their head as they try to figure this stuff out. Which brings me to this other bizarre thing that in the big picture, what we're talking about right now seems much crazier, I guess. JFK Jr. being alive and how they view Trump and what their ultimate end goal is. But this, with the Golden Globes just behind us. The Golden Globes are coming into this, folks. So at the Golden Globes, if you've paid attention, if you paid attention to the memes or whatever, there was this woman who basically got into every picture the celebrities took on the red carpet, photobombed them, and she apparently was holding. She apparently works for Fiji, the water company, because she was there holding Fiji water bottles. Now, everyone really covered this in a viral internet sensational way, in terms of, ha ha ha, look at this Fiji model who got into all the pictures and stole the show with her stunning smile or whatever. But QAnon has a take on this.
Yes. So they believe that Fiji is a major human trafficking hub, and of course in real life there is right. human trafficking in Fiji, as there is right. Just about everywhere else in the world. But there was Donald Trump gave a speech last year in which he paused in the middle of it and took a drink from Fiji water. Now, to everyone else, would think, well, he's just thirsty. But to people in the QAnon community, they were saying, Trump was saying, oh, I know about all the evil human trafficking that goes through Fiji, and I'm going to help take it down. So this was a secret code that Donald Trump was sending through this drink of water that they believe. And so when the Fiji girl went viral, they got all excited again. They thought this was some sort of secret code to evil pedophile Hollywood about taking down the global pedophile ring.
Now, why couldn't Donald Trump just literally use his words and call out Fiji for failing to crack down on whatever legitimate child sex trafficking goes on in that country? I cannot think of a reason why.
Well, they always explain that Donald Trump just can't come out and just say can't just come out and just talk about all the evil things that he knows are really going on all over the world, because this would basically tip our hand to the evil global cabal. So it's sort of like an intel game where he has to conceal what he really knows, and then that's why he's revealing this information through 8chan. So they sort of have an explanation, be like, oh, it's like, well, why? Okay, so if all of these hideous things are going on, if all of these children are being sold, why doesn't Donald Trump say these evil things are happening, and then I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop it right now. They say that, well, it's because he's sort of conducting this battle in secret, and he has to. That's why he can't just come out and use his words. Yeah.
I would say that explanation probably works if, say, Donald Trump needed to send a secret code involving China, Russia, the EU, someone who we have a relationship like the Saudis.
Yes.
I get that conspiracy. If that was the conspiracy, are we? Is the United States of America scared of Fiji? What is going on? How weak are we?
Well, yeah, but it's not just Fiji. It's sort of like the global cabal is sort of like connected to Fiji, so he can't tip any information. So I mean, they can rationalize.
How stupid of me!
All right, I know. It's like they just imagine that that like this whole battle is going on. First of all, I always think this is absurd, because like if Donald Trump is like saving children, the first thing he would do about it is tweet it. He would hold a press conference. He would bring all the children he saved. He's not someone who would like do something amazing and then keep it secret.
Absolutely, no. That is
right?
Real. I mean, has anyone, for even a split second, has that occurred to anyone in the QAnon community that like, why isn't my man taking credit for this?
No. They think that no, he's doing all this in secret, and then all of these people are his critics are maligning him tragically, even though he's doing such wonderful good for the world. This is their perspective.
Unbelievable. That the people who criticize him aren't giving him the credit, not that this is.
Yes. Yes. They see like here's someone who's like doing incredible good for the world, saving lots of people, and then freeing the country from this evil cabal, and he just must bear the slings and arrows of all his critics who say mean things about him on the media or Twitter or whatever. This is their perspective. They see him as really sort of unfairly insulted and put upon.
There should be somewhere for the QAnon community to be able to reach it. Like, the Trump administration needs to create some sort of a line for these QAnon followers so he can tell them that everything's okay. Like, there should be some sort of secret communique directly to the QAnon community. I mean, why hasn't he reached out to his most hardcore and ardent believers? I don't understand. It's baffling to me.
Well, he has through.
Oh,
Q,
right, through Q. Right.
Yeah.
So Trump actually, because this is something that's always been unclear to me. Trump is. So if the idea that Q isn't Trump is true, I'm sorry, if the idea that Trump is Q is false, I should say, and Q is actually someone else, because I've seen that Trump could be Q himself. They believe that it's not just someone who's like working within the administration who's doing this on their own. Like, they believe this is actually Trump. Like, through this guy is telling them, or this group of people is telling them what Trump is telling them. Like, Trump is saying, go tell the QAnon followers this stuff.
Yes.
Right.
They believe that. So, first of all, a point of clarification. So they believe that there is like a Q team. So Q isn't just one person. It's probably like a group of people close to Trump. However, whenever a Q drop is signed off Q plus, then that Q drop was actually written by Trump himself. So they believe that Trump actually does occasionally write these 8chan posts, but only occasionally, and only when the post is signed Q plus.
Does this
otherwise?
Oh no, continue. I'm sorry. Otherwise,
yeah, right. Yes. Otherwise, then it's written by Q team under the direction of Trump or sort of with Trump's understanding.
Got it. Okay. Now, to me, the plus thing is interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, this goes back to a tweet early on when Trump was in Japan, and he added like 3 pluses to a tweet, and QAnon posted something with 3 pluses that same day, and they assumed that, oh shit, Trump is referencing QAnon's post.
Yes. Yeah. So this is something else that's kind of complicated. So in the QAnon world, they believe that 3 entities are basically the global puppet masters. There's the Saudi royal family, there are the Rothschilds, and George Soros. And these kind of like have code names. The Saudi royal family is plus plus plus, the Rothschilds are plus plus, and George Soros is plus. And so whenever they see, I guess, plus plus plus, they think it's some sort of reference to the Saudis.
Right. And the interesting thing, and when Trump first tweeted out, now I sort of was beside myself with this whole thing when that tweet came out, and the QAnon followers were trying to credit that, trying to use this as proof, I should say, that QAnon and Trump are working in tandem, because their claim was that if you look at the timestamps, QAnon had posted his tweet first, and then Trump minutes later tweeted out something with plus plus plus, which, if true, I would say, you know what, maybe they have a point. That is weird. Why would someone tweet 3 pluses in a row? Now, when I read this, I immediately pulled up the tweet and looked into this, and it took no longer than literally a few minutes, and that's being generous to myself, to figure out that because Trump tweeted this and Twitter shows you whatever the timestamp is where you're located, the screenshot that was being passed around showed a different time than when Trump actually tweeted it, if you were going by Eastern Standard Time or whatever, which shows that if you fix the time code to actually put Q's post and Trump's post in the same time zone, Q's post actually comes out a few minutes after Trump's, which means whoever Q is saw Trump's tweet where he oddly tweets 3 pluses in a row, don't know what Trump was thinking, but he fucking did it, and went, let me also post 3 pluses, and confuse the fuck out of people.
Yeah. This happens a lot. They don't do the sort of like, the minimal amount of research that might be to debunk what they call a Q proof. And they just sort of like buy it anyway. They get stunned. There was another case. There's another case where Q tweeted something. There was a Q drop that says something like tippy top or something, and then or tip top, and then later Trump said tip top. But if you look at the history of like the things Trump says, Trump just says tip top a lot. So that's just a phrase he uses fairly frequently.
Right.
So it's not really extraordinary that he used it again after a point in which Q said it.
Right. It would be like if Q spells huge with a Y instead of an H, and then goes when Trump speaks out, they go, "Oh shit, he pronounced it with the Y. He must be referencing Q."
Yeah. I mean, the main habit of the QAnon community is they come to conclusions without Occam's razor. They try to find the most elaborate, craziest, wildest explanation for anything that they see.
Now, let's move on to this, because this is now in the news. I believe it was first reported by Will Sommer of the Daily Beast. And there is, this whole thing is really, I have a fun time on this show laughing about this stuff. I think it's incredibly funny. It's incredibly insane. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly a lot of things. But the main reason I like to talk about all the right-wing conspiracies I talk about on this show is because in the real world, they cause real harm to real ordinary people who truly are probably not in any way, shape, or form at this point in their life when they first come across this stuff. This stuff does incredible damage to easily mendable minds. And I think nothing is more of an example of that than this story out of Seattle.
Yes. So what happened is that this is, like you said, a very tragic case. Seattle man, 26, named Bucky Wolf, has been accused of killing his brother with a sword. And this person was a Proud Boy, allegedly. The Seattle Proud Boys have since claimed that he was not. And he was also a QAnon follower. And he watched, if you look at his Facebook and YouTube pages, he looks like he viewed a lot of QAnon videos. And he was actually into some things that were even crazier than like what QAnon people really believe. He believed in reptilians, the idea that these otherworldly beings live among us. And he allegedly apparently he called 911 on himself. And he allegedly told the 911 dispatcher that God told him that his brother was a lizard. So it's really, really awful. And it was really, if you look at his YouTube likes, you'll see that he did like some videos about reptilians and shapeshifting and these kinds of things. Another conspiracy theory that he was also into is something called targeted individual or gang stalking. And which this is sort of a conspiracy theory about the belief that you are being harassed and targeted by some sort of shadowy organization, and they're sort of torturing you day by day by doing crazy things. And he was obviously so Bucky Wolf is obviously not a well person, and it is very, very sad.
Now, I saw you looked through his YouTube like history and found that there was, and I think you'd find this with many people who fall into these different conspiracy holes. You found that there was, there's not really an actual timestamp on when he liked these sort of things, but it is in order, I believe, correct? And you can see that there is a point, not sure how far along, how much earlier this was, where he seemed, at least from his YouTube likes, to be a somewhat normal average person liking somewhat normal average type videos on YouTube. And then they just get progressively further into this right-wing extremist fringe.
Yes, that basically yeah. So what if you go back into his likes, and then you see that he starts liking lots of music videos and sometimes fitness videos about working out and like motivation videos, normal stuff. And then he starts getting into a lot of like anti SJW content. Political correctness sucks. This kind of stuff. It's like and then it's but still pretty bland. But then he gets into something that's maybe a little bit harder. He starts getting into like he's starting into like Alex Jones and stuff. That's a little bit more conspiratorial, still pretty fringy. And then he starts getting into like Rebel Media, Gavin McInnes, Lauren Southern. He starts getting into stuff that's a little bit more hard right kind of content.
Right.
And then from that, he gets into like real like white nationalist content, like Red Ice TV and stuff, just explicitly white supremacist content.
Right.
And then from that he got it. It looks like he got, according to his likes, he got into QAnon, and then after he started liking some QAnon, then he started following Praying Medic, who is perhaps one of the biggest QAnon decoders working right now. And then he
did he get a ring from Ovaltine?
Yeah, right. And then after that, it looks like he got into like the reptilian shapeshifter content. So yeah, if you look at his likes, and this is public data, you can like check my work. I tweeted about it. It really shows a sort of a trajectory of like going from like just completely normal content, and it just progressively gets more deranged.
Right. And that's at Travis_view on Twitter to go and look at what Travis discovered there. But to me, what's interesting is the jump from the SJW stuff to, and this is maybe moving a little bit away from QAnon now. We'll get back to Q in a second, though. The SJW stuff to, the Alex Jones and Lauren Southern stuff, because a lot of that SJW YouTube stuff is like, there's a gay person or a black person in a role that was normally for a straight white guy in this movie I like. And in the superhero movie I like, they turned the guy in the comic who was a straight white guy into a black guy for the movie or something like that. And the fact that stuff is the jump off into the actual political stuff, because a lot of these young people at the very least who get into this stuff, normally it seems aren't really all that political to begin with when they first get into this type of stuff. Yeah. I mean that's the sort of like the it's about, the anti-SJW stuff. It always seems more about like little sort of like cultural irritations. It's not about like they're not saying white genocide, and they're not saying something really, really crazy. They're saying it's like, isn't it kind of irritating that there are women superheroes now a lot more than like men? It's like and if you're a pop culture consumer and you really want manly superheroes, maybe that's a little irritating. And it's not really. It's a stupid complaint, but it's not that really that terrible, and it's sort of like, but for some reason, something about that kind of like opens the door just a crack, for someone to start exploring a little bit more conspiratorial stuff. Thor's a woman now? Yes, I have to Heil Hitler. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it really is. It's sort of like, I guess it's all kind of sort of reactionary stuff. If you really hate the direction that the country is going in, maybe culturally, and you could sort of like express that in sort of a bland way, through like maybe pop culture, movies, video games. I hate the way movies are changing, and then you can sort of use that as sort of a jumping off point. Well, I hate the way the culture is changing in sort of a broader way, right? And it sort of like opens the door to sort of like really, really hating sort of shifting cultural values and causing you to sort of react against those.
Right. And, I would love to also hear the Proud Boy's explanation as to why this guy isn't officially a Proud Boy. Did he did he not name all of the cereals? I mean, did
Well,
he
yeah, I read the.
did he forget one?
I read the statement from the Seattle Proud Boys, and they basically claimed that Bucky Wolf had shown up to a couple of rallies, and then he was like a pledge to be a member of the Proud Boys, but he was not officially made a member because apparently there's some sort of process that he did not go through all the way.
Holy shit! I was literally just joking. Did not see that. But it sounds to me that he didn't name the fucking cereals.
He didn't name the cereals, yeah.
No, let's move from... Now, I actually wrote a piece on this over the summer for Mashable. And speaking of young people getting into this sort of thing, it's incredible to me, and it's something I noticed really early on and had to write about it because it was just something you don't usually see in these conspiracy circles. QAnon is so overwhelmingly old. It boggles the mind. It is, I would say 90%, and don't quote me officially on the actual number, but it is a lot of like baby boomer aged people, way more older people than younger people. And that's not usually the case with these sort of fringe ideas.
Yeah, it is unusual. It's one of those things that even 8chan was sort of like joked about. The 8chan Twitter account they made a tweet like, boomers on my image board is more likely than you believe. And I can't explain it either, honestly. But there's something about QAnon and this theory that Trump is secretly communicating to the elect, the people who are smart enough to understand the Q drops, that appeals to this particular demographic.
Now, I sort of understand where the audience would come from in terms of the idea that the hero of this conspiracy, of this whole story, is Donald Trump. And it's pretty clear that older people in this country really make up his entire base in terms of it being Republicans who usually are older. And then on top of that, it's older Republicans as well. Young people don't seem to be the biggest fans of Donald Trump. And so I get that there's an audience there, but how the hell these people who can barely figure out, and I say this as someone whose parents are boomers, who literally can barely figure out how to use their iPhones and their laptops to get their email or to order something online from Amazon. How are these people getting onto image boards, which even to me, like I get image boards, but I look at it and I'm like, for people who aren't internet savvy, image boards, like the user interface for these things aren't very user friendly. It's very confusing.
No, it is.
And just the whole idea that they're within these communities, they're talking on Discords, I'm sure. They're finding these videos on YouTube that really, when it comes down to it, I do think the QAnon world of people who believe in it is not, large in the mainstream sense, but it's fairly large for a conspiracy theory. But some of these videos that are spread in the QAnon world are not really that popular, and these older people are the ones who are trying to spread them and posting this stuff on Facebook. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I almost feel like there are sort of like boomers who go on 8chan and they make their own posts. One example is this very prominent sort of a QAnon promoter named Kellyanne Hub News, and she is a woman who really pushes this JFK Jr. lives theory, and she talks about through her YouTube videos about all the things that she's doing on Q Research Board on 8chan, and she cheerfully talks about all the things that she's finding and stuff, and so those exist. But I feel like primarily boomers are people who are they're sort of consuming it secondhand. They wait until the content sort of like gets to a more mainstream network like Twitter, right, like Facebook, and maybe it's sort of like the younger sort of QAnon believers who hop onto 8chan and they spin their conspiracy theories, and then they sort of traffic it to the sort of the mainstream social networks.
So how many of those younger people who are doing this shit to get it to the boomers, how many of them do you think are actually just trolls? I mean, this is 8chan we're talking about.
It is really hard to say, and and the answer is like I don't know, because a lot of these people, I think they have to be trolling. They have to be just anarchists or just nihilists who just love tricking stupid boomers, and like they really is like a LARP to them, and they have a lot of fun spinning these things and then ruining boomers' minds because they're just have no love in their life. It's just I can't separate the people who just do that for fun and the true believers. But yeah, I imagine there's got to be many of them.
Right. And another thing that's interesting to me that probably the cause for it is the probably the fact that it's mostly boomers who really have no sense of this being something that's embarrassing in the real world off the internet, and that's the QAnon merchandise. Yeah. I've never seen a conspiracy theory where its followers didn't even in the back of their head go, I can't really tell people that I'm into this. Like usually for conspiracy theories, the followers are usually at least self-aware enough to know that while I believe this, the rest of the world is not ready for it. They'll think I'm crazy, so I can't let them know that I'm into this. At the very least, that's what they think. Like, I've seen InfoWars, people wear InfoWars shirts, but I think one can argue that until very recently, the past maybe couple of years, InfoWars really was more of a crazy, I can't believe this guy is on air entertainment type show than an actual news source. Yeah, he had his true believer conspiracy theories, but in the end, Alex Jones was more of a broadcaster than an actual news guy. So I think, that explains the InfoWars merch. But I am not understanding this QAnon merch other than the fact of it being old people who aren't self-aware at how this looks to the rest of humanity.
Yeah, I can speculate why the sort of like why they feel so out and proud. Think about Alex Jones. If you were a follower of Alex Jones, you didn't sort of believe that, well, eventually everyone's going to think like, there's black helicopters coming, or whatever Alex Jones was pushing that particular week. They think that I'm the one who understands what the black helicopters are doing, and then no one else is going to do it, and there isn't going to be sort of like a moment in which everyone in the country knows about it. It's sort of like it's this niche thing, and it will be that way forever. QAnon is different in that they think that eventually everyone will know what they know. And they aren't just sort of weird fringe thing. They're on the avant-garde of the Great Awakening. And so they feel comfortable sort of like promoting themselves and wearing their Q shirts at Trump rallies and whatever, or even just, out in public, because they think that one day everyone's going to know that they were right the whole time, and everyone's going to think like them. And so they feel like it's something that's sort of like to put your sort of stake in the ground, be like, oh, I was there first. It's like wearing a T-shirt of a band is going to go big, just in the next few months, right? Be like, people think this band is lame, but they'll wait when they're listening to it. They'll come to me. They'll see I have great taste,
Now that you explain it like that, I'm ready to state that where we go one, we go all. I mean,
there you go. That's it. That's all I do. I red pill people accidentally all the time.
That's actually what the QAnon Anonymous podcast is. It's a anti-QAnon, secretly pro-QAnon podcast.
Yeah. I actually, so some QAnon people have actually speculated that I'm actually sort of controlled opposition for the white hats. I'm sort of like, I seem like I'm against it, but actually I'm helping spread the message by, talking to like, liberal soy boys like yourself, that kind of thing.
You fooled me. I mean, I'm jumping on board.
Behind enemy lines. They don't even know it. This is the speculation.
So as a controlled as one of the many controlled oppositions, I'm sure, helping out the QAnon community.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What can they do to make their families not hate them anymore? Because if to people who aren't aware, there is a growing population, I guess, or not even. I think they've always been there, but they're now, I guess, so sad about it. They're going public with it. There seems to be a growing trend within the QAnon world to share with the rest of their followers how much their families now hate them because of QAnon.
Yeah. There's like, this is something that you usually see in sort of like private Facebook groups that people in the QAnon community, they'll often complain about how their QAnon obsession is alienating them from their family. And this is something that's really, really dangerous because it's literal cult behavior. If if your sort of like fringy beliefs start alienating you from like your immediate people that are supposed to care about you, then that sort of pushes you further into the sort of like your political cultish community. And so this is something that's like very, very concerning. But yeah, it's something that you can sort of see very, very frequently where people talk about like, people have like stopped talking to me because I won't stop talking about QAnon, or it's hurting my relationship with my spouse. It's really, really sad.
It's almost like they're this close to seeing what the problem is, though. Like they're almost there, and then they just take a sharp right or something. Like they're almost at their destination. They almost realize that, hey, maybe I need to look within, and it's something I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, it is the children who are wrong, or something like that.
Right.
It's.
It's the sunk cost fallacy for a lot of these people. It's like the idea that they have sunken so much time and effort and thought into it. I mean, I think one of the brilliant things about Q, from one perspective, is that Q encourages people to sort of do their own, what they call research, where they sort of like do their own sort of basically Google searches. It's not just Q telling you what to believe. It's saying, oh, you go research Fiji or whatever. You go research, what Saudi Arabia has been up to, and this inspires people to go out and they invest time into doing it. And once you start doing that, then it's like if Q is false, then all of this time and effort and energy you've spent into researching for the Q cause has been a waste. And so when people come to a crossroads where being a QAnon believer is causing them pain, and they start maybe thinking out, maybe I should drop this, then they start thinking about all of the time and effort and energy they've sunk into this effort, and they don't want to feel like that was pointless and a waste.
Now, are these things that Q is telling his followers to research, are these like very specific?
Because
I'm just thinking in my head, like, how easy would it be for whoever who has pulled this whole thing off to just really research, like use a keyword, like a Google keyword tool to search some sort of really like low hanging fruit in terms of like a string of keywords that basically has, there's no other websites out there that have this string of keywords, together in a row. And then you just go, oh, okay, I'll just put together some half-ass blogger.com blog, and I'll make up this story that's uses these extremely specific keywords in a row. And then, boom, they do their own research, and I just provided it for them right there. Like, they don't know they're reading what I just wrote.
I don't know if Q has pulled that particular trick. Usually it's stuff like, I'll give you an example. One time Q was trying to basically discredit all of media, not just mainstream media, but social media too. And Q was asking questions like biggest investors in NBC and biggest investors in CBS and who invests in Facebook. And the implication is that, if the people sort of investing in these companies are maybe a little lefty, then we can sort of dismiss them outright as sort of fake news. I mean, that's the kind of thing that like Q does. Q tells people to sort of research things that are sort of researchable, but they come to these absurd conclusions.
Right. And how many, you brought up Facebook, how many QAnon groups or pages are on? I mean, obviously there's probably a ton, but how many actually gain traction? Because it's interesting to me that, the company that's promised to take on fake news, they're weirdly missing out on these whole communities that people are screenshotting galore and sharing on all these really hard to find little known public forums like Twitter and also right on Facebook. Weird to me that Facebook doesn't know about these communities.
They're perpetually paranoid that social media companies will just ban QAnon outright. Like, something similar is kind of did happen on Reddit. There used to be a very large QAnon community on Reddit called Our Great Awakening, and this particular subreddit had over 70,000 subscribers at its peak, and there was a lot of disinformation that sort of spilled from Reddit onto Twitter. But eventually, Reddit got sick of them and gave them the boot, which is, I think is an okay decision to make, that would be okay if maybe Facebook took a closer look at the sort of the information that their, QAnon communities were generating. But that's an excellent question. If like all of these social media companies are so deeply out to get QAnon, why are they so okay with all of this QAnon content on all of their sites, on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and there's even a lot on Instagram. It's nuts.
Yeah, those Instagram models are suddenly becoming awakened, right?
Oh my god.
So yeah, when this Q thing first started, October of 2017, with that whole calm before the storm quote from Trump. A couple months later, as I was really absorbing where it went, where it went from October to say February of last year, I sort of called it, I think I called it specifically an incubator for other conspiracy theories, in terms of, whereas Pizzagate was just about the pizza place, Comet Pizza in DC, QAnon is about whatever its followers would like it to be. And where do you think, and I think we see now that it's even, listen, when I said that, if you were to tell me that it was going to bring up JFK Jr. and Fiji water and all this, I would have told you, listen, I'm not Nostradamus here. I was just spitballing. I would be like, what are you talking about? This is bullshit. I don't believe that. But, where do you think it's going from here, though? As someone who's deeper into this than I am, who's seen probably even the sub-conspiracies of other sub-conspiracies. Yeah. Where are we going next, do you think?
Like one place I'm really concerned about where it's going next is the sort of the generation of fake evidence in order to satisfy the sort of Q predictions. And what I mean is, like, I'll give you an example. There was a lot of QAnon people thought that there going to be military tribunals at the beginning of this month for like all of the deep state enemies. And of course it didn't happen. But what did happen is that there were actually two Twitter accounts that were created. One was called Tribunal Watch, and the other one was called what was it called? It was called Tribunal Report. Tribunal Watch and Tribunal Report. And these are Twitter accounts that are designed to document the criminal tribunals of the deep state enemies, which are not happening and aren't going to happen. So the thing is that I'm concerned about that. There's also another case in which someone actually they had claimed falsely that the military tribunals had already begun, like yesterday I think it was like they claimed it started on January 2nd, and it got like 500 retweets. And there was another case where there was a site called The Confederalist. It released a completely fake indictment of Hillary Clinton that basically accused her of killing a bunch of people and stuff. But it looked like a real legal document with like redactions and everything, but it was 100% fake. But it would be, if you were a QAnon believer, it would be satisfying to sort of like believe that this completely fake indictment was real. So I've started seeing that a lot just in the past week at the beginning of this year. So I'm concerned that that's what is going to start happening, is that the QAnon community, they'll sort of get sick of all of these sort of failed predictions about all the deep state enemies finally getting their comeuppance, and they'll start accepting completely fake evidence to sort of make themselves believe that it actually happened. And if you get someone to actually literally believe that all of major legitimate news outlets are just controlled and fake, and they're not telling you what's really going on, then you.
Oh no! Wait, you
believe that.
You're breaking up, Travis. I think I think the deep state is trying to stop you from sharing your information with me. Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It seems like the
okay.
Seems like the deep state was trying to stop you there.
Yes, they didn't want the truth getting out.
Right.
So I'm generally concerned about. I'm interested in, especially, is this weird sort of generation of fake evidence to satisfy the sort of like the fake Q predictions and stuff. And it was sort of like a closed loop kind of thing, where you get people worked up by telling them that the deep state, that Hillary Clinton is going to be in jail, and then what you can sort of create fake evidence to make people believe that, oh, here's a document that's completely made up that convinces them that it actually happened. And then that's you have people just. In that case, you just have people who are just completely detached from reality. They're sort of in this alternate world in which Hillary Clinton has been indicted.
Right. And from viewing your tweets over the recent couple of weeks, it seems like that's actually already starting a little bit. I think the cracks are starting to show within that QAnon world. I see some people questioning, basically begging Q for something because they can't stand waiting anymore.
Yeah. The thing is that they actually, I often highlight these tweets in which people were saying, like, "Come on, Q, throw us a bone, give us something, just one good arrest, just something, just to keep us believing." And they say that, but they always come crawling back to Q, And if you read the sort of like the psychological literature about like cognitive dissonance and stuff, you'll see that people are capable of brushing off failed predictions and sort of like for literally decades. They can sort of like it doesn't matter how often, if you're really sort of like trapped in sort of like cult like thinking, it doesn't matter how many times they say that the world is going to end and it doesn't happen. It's just rationalized every single time, over and over and over again. So I see they complain about this, and I often say, don't ever hold out hope that just because a Q believer is saying, "Come on, why isn't this happening? When are you going to throw us a bone? When are the military tribunals are happening?" That person might look like they're questioning, but they're almost certainly not going to shrug off their Q beliefs, at this point.
Travis View of the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today on Doomed. Where can people go to check you out? Twitter.com/Travis_View. And where can they listen to the podcast, I should say?
Yeah. You can listen to the QAnon Anonymous podcast through your favorite podcasting app.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today. Would love to have you back on to update us on Q, because this is just great stuff. Really.
It is. It's fascinating.
Take care.
See ya.
All right, everybody. You can support this show by going to patreon.com/MattBinder and becoming a patron. We have started doing in fact, as of this show, the last show we did a freebie we made the patron-only content a freebie for everyone as a teaser. But starting with this show, everything after this, the interactions with the viewer, with the YouTube viewers, the comments, the questions, any story we talk about on this episode going forward is going to be for the patrons only. Sorry, freebie listeners. But you can also support this show if you can't subscribe via Patreon at patreon.com/MattBinder. You can support this show by subscribing to our YouTube channel, the one you're watching right now, doomed.tv. And that also takes you to the YouTube channel. And subscribing on iTunes. Leave an iTunes review or an iTunes, the 5-star review or the written review. In fact, be our first written review of the new year, 2019. That would help us tremendously. I'm going to keep going live on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you do not have to change a single thing. You will be able to keep watching. But if you're listening via the podcast and you're a patron, please go to patreon.com/MattBinder and get your members-only content now, because I'm assuming you listen to the rest of the episode. And if you haven't become a patron, you should become one. But first, let me thank all those wonderful Patreon subscribers. Adam Q, Alan Binder, wonder who that guy is. Andrew C, Andrew H, Benji A, Bobby M, Brett R, Brian James DeMitt. I said his whole name because he uses his whole name in the public YouTube comments, so that's fine. Brooke H, Kristen H, Colin R, Dank Uger, Dave K, Dragon Slayer 19, Edward N, Fraz K, Francis Z, Ian Curtis J, Jameson Test, Janelle A, Jasmine H, Jeff K, Josh C, Katie S, Louis from Texas, Marcos R, Max W, me, who is not me, actually. I'm not subscribing to my own Patreon. The user's name is me. Michael J, Michael M, Mr. Danks, M.U. Grimm, Nicole A, Nam Denet, Omid M, Robert B, Romina O, Cena, not John, just Cena, TM, Tammy G, Thaddeus A, Tom G, Tom M, Trine E, Will P, and simply Zach. Whew, that was a mouthful. But I would like to read even more next time. So patreon.com/MattBinder. Thank you everyone for your support. This show is not possible without you. Yes, even the free version. See you all next time on Doomed. Pause for dramatic effect. Welcome to the members portion of the show, Patreon subscribers. You like that, right? I need to get myself like a segue, don't I? I don't have any sort of special sound effect or I usually add an outro song to the end of the podcast that I don't play on the YouTube feed because I don't want to be copyright stricken on YouTube by using a song on YouTube. But anyway, here we go. Let's go straight to the YouTube comments. Lawrence Booth, who was our first comment of the day, with liked this YouTube show already. Why, thank you, Lawrence. Ryan, QAnon getting a little stabby. Right, too stabby to be honest, says Zarin551. A little murder between brothers never hurt no one, says Ryan. Yeah, it's incredible to see that happen. Clearly this person had issues that stem well beyond QAnon, but it certainly pushed him over to the edge. Let's go back to the comments. Brett is singing simply the best, better than all the rest. Okay, there. Francis Zek. I wonder if Binder has named his cat yet. Hashtag Dark Greedy Cat. I'm not naming my cat Dark Greedy Cat. I'm not naming my cat Michael Brooks. I will say we are really enjoying calling the cat Kitty, which both really fits the cat's personality, but also is extremely basic. So I feel bad calling him Kitty, but it's sort of caught on, unfortunately. We were trying out Theo, Theon, Jasper. We're still trying those out. None of them are sticking, unfortunately. I think this poor cat is going to end up with the name Kitty. And speaking of Michael Brooks, I would like to thank Josh for bringing the debacle that was my dad trying to buy tickets to the Majority Report live in Brooklyn this weekend. His failure to do so, I should say, up to Sam on Twitter, because Sam Cedar has secured tickets for me and my papa to attend the Majority Report live show in Brooklyn this weekend. So if you are going, Majority Report listeners, Sam Cedar fans, the Michael Brooks Show listeners, I'll see you all this weekend in Brooklyn. Don't be weird. Please don't be weird. I met you all, not you all, but I met some of you last year at the live Majority Report show in Brooklyn. Funny and true story. So at that show last year, the live Majority Report show, I actually, for the first time, met Michael Brooks's girlfriend, or his girlfriend at the time. I don't know if she still is. Knowing Michael, she probably isn't. But I met his girlfriend for the first time, and we were talking and conversing, and Michael went off to talk with his fans, his adoring fans, and someone came up to me while I was talking to Michael Brooks' girlfriend and said, "Oh, big fan from when you were on the Majority Report, Matt." And I said, "Thank you." And we were talking for a bit, and he saw Michael's girlfriend standing next to me. And he asked, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" And he extended his hand. And my apologies to this fan who did this, because I am not at all making fun of you or dunking on you. In fact, I would like to thank you for leaving me with this opening. And his girlfriend got all, at the time, laughed and got all, weirded out because we had just met. And I immediately shut it down and went, no, this is Michael Brooks' girlfriend. I'm just meeting her for the first time. But I also pronounced to everyone there that I had just cucked Michael. And it was really so perfect, and probably my telling of it now doesn't do it justice. But it was very funny to everybody else there. And people certainly called over Michael to rub it in. And I enjoyed that immensely. So please, whoever Michael Brooks' current girlfriend is, if you see me and her talking at the Majority Report Live this weekend, A, it will be for the first time and that I'm meeting with her. So B, you should come over and ask, "Hey, Matt, nice to meet you, or nice to see you here. Is this your girlfriend?" Leave me that opening again. Let me cuck Michael once more. Theo, doomed. Brett, my cat is named after Eleanor Roosevelt. She low-key runs the house. Theo, my bathroom faucet is currently running for the same reason. No idea what you're talking about. Dreezy, I'm doomed, y'all. What it do, Doomy, says Brian. Doomed Mindy reporting, says Renee. I don't understand. Let me tell you guys, Renee sometimes goes off the rails here in this chat. Really. Seriously. Oh, if you're, someone on Twitter just said, my friend just looked me to the live show and I'm hearing member content. Listen, this YouTube live stuff is I only started doing YouTube live to begin with, of the whole show, the free version too, because of the Patreon subscribers. So if you're listening free on YouTube, keep listening, that's fine. It's brought to you by the Patreon subscribers. But the YouTube audience is really like a sliver, not even a double-digit percentage of the podcast audience. So really, this is more geared toward really the ease of you listening, and really the majority of people who are going to miss out on this because they don't listen to the podcast. You lose out for not being a Patreon subscriber and for not watching the YouTube live stream. Renee, no idea what Renee is talking about. I'm going to skip him here. Everyone really in the chat is just going doomed right now. Brian, this intro is gold. Thank you. All right, cool. Now we are getting to the portion in the comments where we talk about the actual content of the interview, because really it seems like the first half is just people, I'll take it, patting me on the back for the wonderful doomed intro. Yes, there were some technical difficulties earlier in the broadcast before. If you were watching on YouTube Live, we started a bit late. Francis says, technical difficulties cannot stop the bender. No, it cannot. Kenneth says, Trump is savior. Cracks me the fuck up. Right. I mean, the very basis, the baseline, like the summarization of this whole QAnon thing, the origin story itself, like the very first sentence you need to bring up to describe this QAnon thing, right away is just off the rails. It's insanity, but I love it. I love it so much. It's insane. But of course, then there's the dark side of it, where people are literally now murdering their brothers and calling them lizard people and using swords to commit the homicide. So I mean, it's kind of depressing. Right, Brian. Brett, I should say. Brett brings up Roy Moore. Somehow it's okay to look the other way on pedophilia for your Republicans, says Brett. Right. Brian, wait, what? JFK Jr.? Renee says, didn't his plane get shot down? Well, it didn't get shot down. Don't go feeding into this conspiracy, Renee. Unless you're describing what they believe. Which, honestly, Renee, sometimes with you, I'm not 100% sure. Misha with a really, I guess a blank-faced bird emoji here. Right. Brett says they're challenging the flat earthers for dumbest group on the internet. Well, honestly, when it comes down to it, I don't think the flat earth thing is anywhere near as damaging to people as the Q stuff. Flat earthers have been around for a while, and I don't think they're causing the damage that Q is. I don't know if anyone ever murdered someone over their belief that the earth is round, but I could be wrong. Who knows? I certainly don't. How many people actually believe in QAnon, says Icepick? You really can't tell. It's certainly, I mean, if you look at the Facebook groups and the pages, there's certainly thousands and thousands of active people who are within the QAnon community. How many people just, consume the content and don't really engage? It's hard to tell. And you have to remember, when it comes to these boomers, who knows how many people are completely disconnected from the internet and their friend from bingo prints out their QAnon Facebook findings for them, and they consume it via this QAnon stuff via forward emails printed out for them. I mean, wish I brought that up on the show. Who knows? Kennedy says, I can't believe this isn't a Parks and Rec episode. Right. Where does Q post, asks Misha. First it was 4chan, and then 4chan was like, this shit's crazy. So they moved over to 8chan, and that's where he posts now. Brian says Burt Macklin won't rest until he brings down the Clinton sex ring. All right. Also, we need to also get to the bottom of who murdered Vince Foster. That's still, unless Vince Foster is still alive as well. And if JFK Jr. is the Secret Service member to Trump's right, then Vince Foster is the one to his left. Dun, dun, dun. I need to get a soundboard working on this. Also, if you were watching the last episode, I need to get my green screen working for this. Zarin says they need to make Q cool again. Fuck this normie shit. Well, I mean, if a QAnon follower literally murdering his lizard brother with a sword isn't cool enough for you, I mean, I don't want to see what the QAnon folks have to do to make it even more edgy and hip for you. George, is Q still James Bond's gadget scientist? Perhaps. Renee anons up their own ass, right? Dreezy, point of trivia, 8chan is read as Infinity Chan. I refuse to take part in that. I refuse to call it that. It's 8chan. Misha, so they're a cult. Right. No, that's... I mean, deep down, that's what all these conspiracies are. It's almost like just repetitive to call it that. Abby, I have a QAnon coworker. What cryptic clues should I leave around work? Oh, man, Abby. That is... what do we... This is going to be... I'm going to leave a note for myself. This is something that we got to come up with for the main show as well. And then we'll continue it for all you paying folks. But I feel like this should be a thing, like a meme. I'm leaving a note for myself. Meme. Prank/prank. Leaving cryptic clues for your QAnon family, friends, co-workers. Oh, man. Hell, let's take it a step further. Let's do a Doomed sponsored invasion of the QAnon Facebook groups. Leave myself a note here. Yeah, so let's figure this out. Maybe in the Doom Discord we should talk about this. This would be hilarious. Let's see if any of our own like QAnon conspiracies that we come up with could possibly, take root in this whole thing. Let's not do any that will cause real physical harm. But it'd be funny if we got like a bunch of them like, I don't know, burning their underwear or something because the deep state has put secret undercover chips in their Fruit of the Looms. That would be fantastic. I would enjoy that immensely. Renee says more like a promoted agitprop paranoia. Right. Dreezy, a supposed cult, a personality cult would be appropriate enough to say, right? Zarin, just print a bunch of giant Qs and leave them in the printer. Brett, it's like a conspiracy buffet. And they keep going back for more, right? Jay Jaribus, I would think almost anything could be clues for these people. Anything can. If it exists, it reinforces their view. It's like astrology for clan members, says Kennedy. It's one way to put it. Theo says, no offense, but this dude has right-wing energy. I'm glad he's on our side. Talking about Travis? Well, maybe that's because he's a secret... he's the controlled opposition. We've discovered this already, haven't we? We've already gotten to the bottom of this. Theo says, maybe he just reminds me of my dad. What? Renee, I swear, man. Renee's going on this whole spiel about Chile here. Whew. Right, okay. Dreezy says, thirsty, am I right, guys? We're at Fiji water now. George, in that bottle was liberal tears. Got him. Theo, Fiji water is owned by the worst Democrats in California. Just saying. Brian, dude, I know. Fiji water is not even that good. Jay Jaribus, the QAnon community isn't going to have a reasonable reaction to anything. I mean, that is clear. Right. Zarin, I imagine Trump does troll chants during executive time. Jay Jaribus follows it up with what I was going to say. Trump has no idea what 4/8chan is. Right. Trump's got no clue. These guys think Trump is smart and knows what's going on and keyed in. He's got no clue, even about the most basic things. Like the guy, I'm surprised the guy can wake up and get himself dressed, really. Misha, my dad probably believes all this shit. JJM Hicks, QAnon doesn't care about the Koch brothers? No. I mean, maybe there's people who do in QAnon. It wouldn't surprise me. But the Kochs aren't part of the official QAnon canon. Brian, I'll never understand why it always goes back to the Jews. Well, because all these guys really, when it comes down to it, believe in the same sort of right-wing fringe ideals, don't they? Jay Jaribus, does Trump read and investigate anything from his DMs? I think not. Zarin, the conspiracy I can understand, but I draw a line at math. Misha, conspiracy theorists are often into numbers for some reason. Like Trump has 5 letters and zip codes have 5 numbers. It must mean something. Right. Theo, did you see the tweet about Chuck and Nancy? There were 6 stars on either side and 6 flags in the back. So Avi, Satan, 666. Right. So right-wingers were, and I'm sure the QAnon contingent were a major part of this. A image was going around. It was a screenshot from the Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi response to Trump's boring as hell, not quite state of emergency speech about the situation on the border. And the screenshot is of someone's TV with Chuck and Nancy on there during that rebuttal. And circled in this screenshot are the 6 flags behind Chuck and Nancy and 6 stars that are on the bottom of this screenshot. And what these stars are is there's 6 stars on the left, 6 stars on the right, and it's the NBC News chyron. You know, the lower thirds of your TV. You know, when you watch the news and the story comes up, you know, if you're watching CNN, it says breaking. You're watching a State of the Union address, and it says on the bottom, Trump State of the Union. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see what I'm showing you if you're not familiar. And, you know, in between the stars on each side, in between the stars that are on each side, it says the Democratic response. And so they think the 6 stars on the left, 6 stars on the right, and the 6 flags behind Chuck and Nancy are some sort of satanic callback ritual. I've got no idea what they're trying to say with it, to be honest with you. The Democrats are Satanists. Really, that's what it comes down to. But the only thing the Democrats really had anything to do with are the 6 flags that were actually sitting behind them. Like, do they not realize that the 6 stars on the left and the 6 stars on the right in the chyron are, like, not actually there with Pelosi and Schumer? Like, they didn't put those there. They didn't have a little sign on their podium that said the Democratic response. NBC News put it there. And it's just like a graphic that they put on the TV screen. And Chuck and Nancy have no control over that. Or maybe they do. Ooh, who knows? I guess we have to look into the chyron conspiracy. Brett, Q could be just a very dedicated troll. It would not be surprising, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm sure a lot of it, a lot of the unofficial Q stuff actually is probably. Theo, it is 100% one or more very dedicated trolls. There's something there to it, I'm sure. You are without a doubt not wrong. Brian, to be honest, not surprised the Proud Boy turned QAnon. It's not surprising. Kennedy, the Proud Boy that killed his brother. Right. Zarin, YouTube fucking sucks. We've all made a terrible mistake. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on the show, and we will never stop talking about it. YouTube is, and I don't think we should get into it all now, because it's a long thing, as you regular listeners know. But yeah, YouTube is a beast in its own, and has certainly provided a platform well beyond the platform even Twitter and Facebook provide to a lot of these conspiracy theorists and far right-wingers and alt-righters. Misha, he totally looks like a Travis. Yes, Travis totally looked like a Travis. And I mean that not in a negative way whatsoever. It's if you were to call, if you were to say, hey, this is John, I would have been like, yeah, you look more like a Travis. Just like I'm pretty sure I really only look like a Matt. Like, I don't think I look like a Bob. Renee, nothing says punk rock like protecting a tyrant, right? Brett, the Human Torch is black? This is an outrage. It's embarrassing if this is what you think is a problem. It's embarrassing if you think that this is a problem. Right. But in many ways, the pop culture stuff, the anti-SJW stuff, the gamer gates, the comic gates, the whatever gates, that's even to an extent, even though I think this one's a step further, the MRA stuff. It's the gateway drug. It's the stepping stone. I think if you're an MRA and an MGTOW, if you're one of those guys, I think you're already a little bit steeped further than needing that first puff or that first hit. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is the red pill. Plowed boy, says Renee. Zarin, QAnon being boomers is sort of proof he could be trolling Chans. If they figure it out, he can too, right? Jay Jaribus, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious it would be old people, right? Renee, they should teach Alan Binder how to use Google Play, right? They should. But I don't think my dad needs Google Play. He's an iPhone guy. Zarin, imagine it was boomers on 4chan who gave the word goatsy. Kelly, I'm a boomer and my peers embarrass me. I've been on the internet since Command Line and Hyperterminal. IOW since the early 1990s. You even got me there. I didn't know how to pronounce that. A lot of boomers can't handle how things have changed, and they have in turn have passed their fears onto their kids and grandkids, right? Listen, and also, Kelly, I want to say it's without a doubt not all boomers. It's sort of it's unfortunately sort of just I guess how do I say this? The very powerful boomers and the very stupid boomers have unfortunately painted all of boomers with a very broad brush. Hey, just like them lazy millennials have painted all millennials with a broad brush. It's not always right, but if you're quickly trying to refer to a certain generation, I think it's not fair for the millennials. I think it sort of fits for the boomers. But again, Kelly, they're all the woke, smart, cool, hip boomers such as yourself. And you guys are usually the forefront, the godfathers of the early tech stuff. The organizing, the politics. My hat off to you. If I was an MRA, I would. If I was a PUA, if I was I don't know, quote unquote nice guy, I would tip my hat and go milady. And that's assuming Kelly is a woman, because there's guys named Kelly too. Who knows? Zarin, how long until Logan Paul is doing Q videos? Who knows, to be honest with you. He already showed up at the Flat Earth conference to take advantage of that stuff. So it would not in any way, shape, or form it really would not surprise me in any way. Kennedy. This guy's expressions are incredible. I always love when we have a guest on who's aware of the video aspect. I mean, they're all aware of the video aspect because they're on video. But always love someone who's good on camera. And Travis gave a, hell of a performance. No, it was good. Great. Someone I will definitely be having on again. Kennedy, I don't know, the Flat Earth stuff is funny to Jake Paul's fans, but I doubt they're into the Q stuff. Right. No, I think the QAnon stuff would be pretty fun to them, I'm sure. But I guess it is a little bit more politically bent. And so, it's easy for the more mainstream audience to just go, haha, they think the earth is flat, than for them to get into all this political bullshit. So you're onto something there for sure, I think. I might be wrong on that one. No, I am wrong on that one by thinking it'd be the same. Zarin, it would be honestly kind of funny to troll Q believers, though. Oh, it would be hilarious, and that's what we got to do. Jay Jaribus, this is kind of depressing, to be honest. Something can be both depressing and also a source of immense joy. We just have to make sure, really, that we're going after the right people. I'm not going to punch down at the sadder Q people. But, these guys who are milking it, I think there's something we can all find some fun in. Kelly, it's necessary for our understanding of how cults work or even delusional obsession, right? Jay Jaribus, it's just sad and I don't see a good way to counter it. Misha, I have a pretty good understanding of cults. I grew up in one. I think you've spoken about that on this show before, but Misha, on one of the call-in shows, which I will be doing more regularly and probably for members only, again, the Facebook Live stuff will be available while it's happening live for anyone to watch, but the replays will be for members only. You should call in, and if you want, go into full detail with that. I'd love to hear about your experience in a cult. And you know what? Maybe we'll unlock that for the public consumption too, if you're interested, and it's as compelling as I think it will be. I need to get a better chair. My back is killing me. Ooh. I'm like shifting now. Sorry about that. Ugh. Renee, it's more like an evil fascist ideologue fucking with people's head via memes on the internet. All right. Jay Jaribus, wow, Misha, glad you're out. All right. LOL, YouTube working as intended. Zarin, up next in my autoplay. That was from Jay Jaribus was in response to Zarin saying, up next in my autoplay is Tucker Carlson, which I've never watched. So, YouTube is fine. Kelly, Tucker Carlson, bad for America since 2005. Misha, deprogramming, but it's not easy and people often don't want to be deprogrammed. So yeah, it's tough. All right. But good for you, Misha. Renee, being Catholic or Orthodox would be enough. Jay Jaribus, I was raised Catholic, but it was easy to leave that. Yeah, I was raised Catholic too. Most Catholics really aren't, Catholicism is sort of like, mainstream Judaism, really. Whereas, unless you're, a Hasidic, a conservative Jew, most Jews and most Catholics are pretty, believe in God, and that's the most they'll go. Maybe they'll show up at temple, show up at church every now and then, but they're not, they're not anti-LGBT. They're not, for the most part, they're the church itself might be conservative and horrific in its own ways, but the actual members of the church, for the most part, are pretty liberal, at least in a social sense. Bridget says, "Hi, Dad." Not sure who Bridget was talking to. Kelly, Reddit kicked them off, and they went to vote. Vote, right. Vote. Just like 8chan is the alt 4chan, Vote is the alt Reddit. Except to give 8chan credit, they sort of took off and have their own little hardcore community, which is actually sizable in number. Vote never really took off quite the same way. Renee says, "I go to church for funerals." Zarin says, "Vote's still going, huh?" Right. Yeah, Vote sort of isn't as big as 8chan. I'm sure they wish they had the same staying power. Misha, I was jealous of Catholics growing up. I liked the spooky music and candles and incense and whatevs. Way cooler than Pentecostals. Ugh. Jay Jaribas, I will say the Catholic Church still has a cool vibe to me. I don't know if I describe the Catholic Church like that, but okay. Renee, I went to a Greek Orthodox school as a kid. Brett Reed, I disagree. Churches always weirded me out. I was raised non-religious, though. Boy Scouts should weird you out, say Renee. All right, let's get back to it. All right, guys. I'm talking about, oh boy. Renee, always count on Renee to take things off course here in the YouTube chat. Ryan Tennant, the deep state is getting Travis, right? This is from when they cut Travis off. I can hear the black helicopters closing in. Right. Kelly says Tribunal Watch is using an NSA logo. LOL, says Jay Jaribas. Brett, it is pretty impressive how they've turned Hillary into the epitome of everything evil, delusional as it is. Listen, I wish I was who they think Hillary is, to be honest with you. Kelly, HRC has been a villain for decades. She was involved with the Watergate investigation. Right. Brian, they have Mulder syndrome. They want to believe. I like that one. Renee says, get into fascism, watch Travis. Kelly, she murdered Tricky Dick way back when, and they still want her scalp. Right, and she murdered Vince Foster. Well, her and Bill Clinton murdered Vince Foster. Renee, Gore Vidal supported Hillary. Watch this interview with Papa Sam and Janine. Renee, leave a review on the iTunes. Right, please leave a review on iTunes. Renee, yeah, Matt got an avalanche of support. Right. Listen, we did pretty good after the last episode, and then the Patreon charged everyone. And then immediately after, and I'm not complaining at all, but I'm just saying, immediately after, a few people quickly quit the Patreon. I think it was very cool they stayed on to throw me their $5 for as a thank you, I guess, for the year of Doomed, and I really appreciate that. But also, it was hilarious to me to watch a few people drop off like that. It was really a perfect encapsulation of my life. That high of everyone joining in last time, and then my low of everyone leaving me just a few days later. No, really, I'm joking here. I really appreciate everyone who gave that $5 that one time, and to everyone who stuck around, I thank you too. Renee says, speaking of fascist punks, Ian Curtis. Zarin, gotta change my Patreon name to something funny. Renee, but it looks like death helped with his politics. Misha, pause. This suit is black knot. Renee, the wrestling YouTube channel could be called Socialist Suplex. Right, yeah, I still have that wrestling YouTube I haven't really been doing much with, which is weird because that YouTube has way more subscribers than this YouTube channel. I run a pro wrestling YouTube channel that has like 30-something thousand, like 32,000 subscribers. And I haven't really been posting there. I'm going to jump on that. While also doing more Doomed. While also giving you guys exclusive Doomed content. Because you guys, meaning the Patreon members, subscribers. While also working on other little Doomed bonus stuff for YouTube. Like produced videos. While also having a family, raising a child, and working a full-time job. No, but I love it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. Jay Dreba says, name your cat already. It shouldn't be so hard. Theo says, Theo is a dumb name, to be honest. Thank you, Theo. Renee says, call my wrestling channel Lucha Libre Popular. JJM Hicks, name your cat Tybalt, Prince of the Cats, from Reynard the Fox and Romeo and Juliet. Misha, oh, LOL. Oh, we got to the part where I burned Michael. Okay. Zarin, Matt has the best Michael Burns. Right. Well, I worked with the guy for almost 5 years, I think. 4 years, maybe. Literally. 5 days a week. Hours a day. Side by side. Me, Michael, and Sam. The three of us only in a room. Doing a live broadcast. And preparing for a live broadcast. I mean, majority part has expanded since I left. There's multiple people in that room now. But when I was there, it was 3 people. Matt, Michael, Sam. Hours together in a room with those two. Imagine what it's done to me. Dreezy. I like it when a burn on Mike Brooks has layers. Damn, Matt, you cold. Ryan, Alpha Binder, Best Binder. Jay Jaribus, LOL. Misha, XD. Francis Zek. He. Brett, Genius. Theo, he also put this call last time. Renee, I'm really feeling bad actually for not having that Michael thing on the public part of the show. I'm like this close. This is the members. This is the first member show. Swear to God. I'm not giving. There's a lot of other good stuff we talked about in this members half. No one's getting this but Patreon subscribers. But I'm a little bit tempted to cut that Michael Brooks thing and sticking it on the end of the public show. It's just Misha, poor Michael's girlfriend, LOL. Renee says, Mindy from MR, I am her. Jay Dribus, LOL. Renee, I mean Matt's Mindy. Zarin says, you're not nearly annoying enough to be Mindy. I don't know who Mindy is. Jay Dribus, is he going to read all the chat? I don't read all the chat, just the relevant stuff. I skip a lot of your back and forth bullshit. But I enjoy it, and I interact with it, so it's not just me reading it. I talk with you guys. This is a conversation. Renee says you really got on a soapbox for the intro. Brian says he usually reads most of it. All right, yeah. You guys tell me, as the Patreon subscribers, you guys tell me what you'd like to see here. Because this is how I look at it. I could give you guys, I could run down certain things, and then I guess I could clip it for YouTube if it's good enough to give to a broader audience. But I feel like this conversation we guys are sort of having instead of me looking at the camera and hitting these stories like I'm a news broadcaster or a YouTube commentator, which I am in certain aspects when I cover this stuff. But for this members portion, I'm saying, it's like we're sitting at lunch at a restaurant or something, or having a beer at a bar, and I don't drink beer. I'm having a Red Bull while you drink the beer. And we're discussing this crazy shit. That's how I look at it. That's how I feel. This is how I talk. This is how I talk about this crazy bullshit with my buddies. This is how me and Sam and Michael talked about this stuff when we were off air. So I thought you guys would enjoy this type of stuff. But listen, it's your half. You tell me what you want to hear in this member's half. I think it's best actually to do the call-in stuff on its own broadcast. So along with the regular guest shows, I'm going to do a call-in show. And it's tricky because a lot of people, I feel like the call-in show before last, we had like 4 or 5 callers. The last show that I had call-ins, only Renee called in. So maybe that's not going to work either. Because y'all got to call in. I can't just have Renee calling in and walking down the streets of Chile. Or I should say biking down the streets of Chile or whatever he's doing in Chile when he's outside calling into the show. Can't just have that going on. Although Renee could call in. I'm not saying he can't. But he can't be the only one. Misha, yeah, I usually leave for this part because I don't want to hear my stupid comments out loud. Listen, if you guys don't want me to read this stuff, I won't. And if you have a comment that you specifically don't want me to read, just say it. Just say don't read it. I mean, I know Sam reads IMs. Maybe he doesn't anymore, which is not true because I watch the show still. I was going to make a comment about how maybe he stopped when I left. But no, I do watch the show. He does this still. God. Theo says, yeah, I always feel dumb because I never remember. Right, because I go back to the beginning of the comments. Right. I'm reading like your full hour and a half worth of comments. Ice Pick. Binder, do you have any idea as to how many QAnon true believers there are? Oh, I think someone asked me this earlier. Yeah, I'm not. It's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. Because Aaron says, you got songs? Yeah, I actually pick a song to outro on the podcast version of this. Like, not a specially made song for this show. Like, I pick a punk song that I like. Or any song that I think fits the episode. Misha says, I'm thinking of deleting my comments. No, don't do that. I won't read your comments then, Misha. Zarin, I don't even remember what I said, to be honest. Oh, my God. All right. From now on, maybe I won't go back to the beginning and read the comments. Jade Rebus, Vince Foster is Q. Renee says, Jamie Peck mentioned to leave Karl Marx quotes. Wait, Jamie said to leave Karl Marx quotes on this stream? Or are you just saying she said that in general? Ryan. Oh, hell yes. The fibers in your underwear can get under your skin. Challenge real. And only Q can stop the deep state from spreading it to everyone. Icepick. How long until another poster gets on 8chan saying Q is a psyop and starts the cycle all over again? Right, that's a good point. Because Q, while there is a way to... Q has like a string of numbers when he posts after his username that basically is a stamp to say this is the real Q or the original Q or whatever. But with them starting to disbelieve Q or to no longer follow Q, it's interesting to see if there'll be another personality or soul figure or entity to rise from the ashes and compete with Q. It's a good point. Brett, what is the Doom Discord? Anyone got a link? Matt should add it to the description. I will start doing that for sure. It's not as active as it should be, but I would like to change that. So we should do that. We should start talking in there. Also, Discord confuses the fuck out of me. I feel like a boomer when I use Discord. Conspiracy nachos fed by Steve Barron, says Renee. No idea what he's talking about. God, Renee. Misha, as soon as he said he was controlled opposition, I was like, Theo was right, right? Dreezy, Matt, please do a Doomed episode all about the nation of Chile. Thank you, left is best. Listen, I'd be happy to. Recommend me someone who isn't Renee. Again, not knocking Renee, but I would like to talk to an expert on this. Renee says, Yakubian inside man. Misha says, LOL, Caucasian as fuck. Renee, only left-wing anti-Zionist Jews who don't care about the rapture, who have black friends who laugh at their jokes, and Arabs do Semites to be anti-against. Whew. So Mindy or Reefer Cake? Speaking of what? Or Judy Gold? Misha says this is such a tough choice. Oh my god. Who? Why? What? Or what? What? These are Majority Report regulars. For those who don't watch the Majority Report, I don't know who doesn't watch the Majority Report and watches the show. But if you exist, kudos to you. Francis Zek. Chuck and Nancy would be cooler if they did worship Satan. Ryan, silly Matt, don't you know that fake news MS13 NBC is in cahoots with the satanic pedophile demon rats? Oh my god, Ryan, that was fantastic, and I was just bumbling all over it. Misha, without the weed, he's just in love with Tulsi Gabbard. Renee says, well, you know neo-Nazis and their Kabbalah phobia. I can see that, but the Ocasio dance video flipped the script. Brett, Matt does look like a Matt. I'll give him that. Right. Michael, is Bernie running? Damn it. I cannot handle the stress of not knowing. Oh, he is without a doubt running. He is definitely going to run. Barring some sort of outside force that, well, you know, like a... I've no idea. A family tragedy, a health issue, whatever. Bernie Sanders is going to run. We should do an episode on that. The bullshit surrounding Bernie's run. Because they're already going after him. And a lot of it's debunked crap. And I would really like to talk about the sexual harassment stuff that's coming out about the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. But I'd like to talk about it in depth, and it really deserves its own episode, or at least more time than we have here. But just to make it clear, believe those women. They are extremely brave for coming out and sharing their experience. It's horrible what happened to them. I'm happy to see Bernie Sanders is making moves to correct that going forward. And I hope all campaigns are aware of, literally, this happens, I assure you, there's at least one instance of this in every campaign. Campaigns are so large and so spread out, and just the way they're built, so they enable just all it takes is that one bad actor. They enable that person to be able to do things without the ladder, the upper management chain, their awareness of it. And I'm not saying that that's good. Clearly, there needs to be an overhaul in how political campaigns are run and structured. But the old way of doing things, without a doubt, fostered this sort of thing. And I'm super happy that this is a discussion that's happening. What I'm not super happy about, and what I want to go further into, is the disgusting weaponization of these women's experience. And really, it's sad, actually, that if you read what most of them have said, they didn't come out with this information with their experience of being abused or harassed by their superiors. It's a part of this campaign. They didn't come out with this because they supported Bernie Sanders so much that they were afraid that the opposition would use these personal abuses, the harassment they personally dealt with, to undermine what they had been working so hard for months. Literally, these campaign workers of any campaign, and I say this as someone who's worked on campaigns. You guys know I worked on Cynthia Nixon's campaign most recently. Like, the time and effort people put into these political campaigns, the money they're usually paid does not accurately compensate them for what they do, for what they put into this. And I'm not, again, I'm telling you I'm complaining now, but I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that people who work on these political campaigns, at least when you're talking about progressives like Bernie Sanders or Cynthia Nixon, they're not in it for the money or for the fame or to run off and start their own political consulting firm. They're in it because, and when I say fame, I mean going up the campaign ladder and becoming, eventually maybe a press secretary, or if their candidate wins, joining the administration. That's not what usually these folks are into it for. They're true believers in those progressive ideals that campaign is putting forward. And it is sad that in addition to how they were treated by the pieces of shit who decided to take advantage of their position in these campaigns, these Bernie Sanders campaign workers had to hold it inside and hold it back from public knowledge because they didn't want it to undermine all their hard work, and they didn't want it to hurt Bernie Sanders' chances. And the fact that is part of some of these women's own, really their own telling of their stories here. They include that information in these stories of harassment. And still, it's being, you see centrists and Democrats, the anti-Bernie brigade, and I'm sure right-wingers too, obviously. You see them using this information and weaponizing it regardless of what's in those words that are being shared by these women. It makes you wonder just how close we are to things actually changing. It's sad. And Bernie Sanders better, he said he will, but what he puts forward better make changes. Because if his campaign isn't the gold standard, then we're going to have a problem. Because this is unacceptable. I have faith that he'll work hard to make it happen. But that's my current spiel on it, folks. I would like to go into it more in depth, the whole thing. Believe the women. Screw the people on either side who are undermining them, whether they're anti-Bernie or pro-Bernie. Listen to what they're saying. Misha, I find the massive amount of Bernie hate on Twitter disturbing. Misha, I've seen liberals saying they wish he would die. Like, what the F is wrong with you people? Jay Jaribus, it's weird and gross. Lawrence, any opinion about Whoopi Goldberg's scold of Ocasio-Cortez on The View? Another thing I'd like to talk about a bit more, but in summary, my opinion is, oh shit, she's about to tax every dollar I make over 10 million at 70%. That's my opinion of it. Renee, and people who call AOC stupid and inexperienced, right? It's disgusting. It's the worst. Misha, OMG, there was a tweet today from a woman who called herself a leftist Hillary supporter, and she said AOC is only popular because people want to bang her. I saw that. Just bizarre people. Just bizarre. Renee, might be a certain Beto groupie who had sex with him on a skateboard. What are you talking about, Renee? Christ almighty. Renee, you are the Jimmy Reefer cake of Doomed. JJM Hicks, Matt recovering from PTSD from MR Studio days. Right. All right. Dreezy, don't cut the Brooks thing. Brooks is going to laugh till he faints when he hears it. No. I don't mean I'm going to cut it out so people can't hear it. I'm thinking of cutting it out for the public show. Like the public show ends after the interview. And then you guys have gotten everything after that. I'm thinking of taking the Michael Brooks portion and attaching it to the end of the public show so more people could enjoy it. Francis, Mindy's MR caller from PA, I think. Jay Ribis, yeah, leave the Brooks porn in. Oh, it's not going anywhere. Oh, man, I completely... Listen, I want Michael to hear this. That's why I want to put it on the public show. I want as many people to hear it as possible so they could all tell Michael about it. Renee, leave Karl Marx quotes as QAnon. Zarin, Matt has lost the thread. That's about trolling Q people. Right, I did miss out on that. Right. That's pretty good. Leave Karl Marx quotes as the cryptic decodings of Q stuff. I really like that. Make a note of that. Karl Marx quotes as Q decodings. Zarin, maybe someone should be X or something. Brett, I'm a mod on another Discord server and I still couldn't find the Doom server. Start dropping those links. Zarin, there's a link on Patreon. Brett, where? I'm also a patron. What? Patreon people don't know about the Discord? That's a problem. I didn't even set up the Discord. Like I told you, I'm a boomer when it comes to Discord. I don't get it. I mean, I could comment on there. I know how to do that. All right, let's get back to the comments here. Zarin, I don't know. Actually, they sent me a Patreon email to claim the Discord reward, which I didn't click because I don't use Discord, to be honest, right? Well, click that link. Francis, it's obviously not an issue that's exclusive to his campaign. Oh, right. Talking about Bernie. Right, of course. Renee, yeah, Matt, you should talk about your strategies to oppose right-wing sabotage opposition. Brian, redistribute, hashtag redistribute whoopee. Ryan, Renee, reefer cook. Damn. Treasy, oh fuck, Matt is next leveling this Brooks burn. Fully endorse, right. Renee, I know I need help. Dreezy, GPS coordinates for the Bastille. And the final YouTube comment of, I just went out of focus there on the YouTube. Okay, there we go. The final comment of the episode. Haley, Q is the new time of game. Wait, what? Hold on. I'm like reading this wrong, I think. Q is the new time of game time for us to play with the people in the top secret service. Haley, I think I'm currently having I don't even know what. Am I reading this wrong? But anyway, good comment. We should definitely think of something here to do with this Q stuff. It would be a most fun experience. Let me do a whole episode about who we tricked and how far it went. I like it. All right, everybody. See you on the next Doomed. Remember, this is just the Patreon portion of the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I think I may cut the Brooks thing for public people. But everything else is just yours. If you're not already a subscriber to the YouTube channel, go to doomed.tv, subscribe right there. Please, please, please leave an iTunes review, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Google Play, subscribe wherever podcasts are listened to. And I will see you all next time on Doomed. Yeah, you like how I said it slightly differently for you member-only people? All right. Brian says later, Doomies. Take care.